I knew you. That's a song being offered by Dwayne Hepner, founder of the New Presentation, to connect us to the real universes and be given guidance, real guidance, and a real education so that we can learn how to earn our way out of these psych realms into the real universes where there's real freedom instead of this implied freedom we have, where there's real love instead of just the emotional stuff that we think is love. It's an opportunity at this time, right now, if the real guides are letting you have this chance to hear about the New Presentation and become involved in projects that are in development, like the Total Universal Rainforest and the All Solar Research Vessels and the Nations United Universal University and the homeschooling. Dwayne has wrote a group of books. It calls them Adventure Is series. And they're available at lulu.com to buy in the paperback or hardback. Or if you get a hold of someone in the New Presentation about getting PDFs of them, they're available too. So I'll read one of the books Dwayne has created as a reference to get an idea what is being offered. This is New Book 5. The New Wave is Worldwide Wake-Up Call Just for You. The New Wave, that sounds far out. I would say there must be some mistake about what you are saying, Lou. How could I possibly do anything like what you are telling me? Besides, I do not want to be anybody. I just want to surf, I said. You are young now, Sonny, but as time passes and you gain experience, you will see that I am right, and surfing is not all that you will do, she said as she kept changing the scene. Okay, I will just watch, I said, as I did just that, as I was watching young Dwayne watch. Now watch as you go down into the psychic layers from the real universes of light. Look, Yabel has taken you to the place where you are to choose a body in the etheric realm. It took you a long time to decide what your body type would be in, and he was very patient with you, and you can see, said Lou, as you can see, said Lou, as she laughed. I watched as I spoke to Yabel in the experience. I like this one here, sir, I said, as I looked it over very carefully. That would be a good body for you, but you may attract too many women with it, and your prime focus would take longer to accomplish. As it is, it will still take you 1,000 years to fulfill what is in your destiny, said Yabel, as he smiled at me. That is true, sir, so I will pick this ordinary one that is not so masculine. It will serve what I have to do down there, I said, as the body type was prepared for me by one of the attendants. It was interesting to watch how the attendant who managed this body factory took the body I choose to another room and then prepared it for me. Even as I am watching what is taking place, it is rather difficult to explain, kind of like our dream visions, where we are there experiencing something, but when we re-enter the body and the little mind, it becomes hard to give a description as to what just happened. Most people do not realize all the past life karma they have, and so it must be transferred to the next succession of bodies a person takes on. The karmic baggage can be a useful motivation when properly understood. as it is nothing more than emotional ties for the most part. And then there are those physical situations to balance out. Not many people get to choose their body, as they must take what is given them by the lords of karma from the accumulation of events which have transpired. You have a lot of good karma, plus the fact of Yabel being with you, so you have the privilege of picking out your body, said Lou, as she followed the attendant with the view into the next room for us to watch. The room was huge, really big. There were gigantic futuristic machines all along the walls and ceiling. The attendant placed the body on a chair in an upright cylinder and then closed the see-through glass door. He went back to the controls and pushed the buttons on a computer-type keyboard, then watched the body for any responses. For the most part, the body was calm, as there was an occasional slight jolt as the karmic programming was being loaded into it. After about an hour, the attendant opened the door and brought the body back out to where Yabel and I were waiting. Not a word was spoken, as Yabel then nodded to me to enter the body. At first, it was a bit strange, as I was adjusting to the new form, and so Yabel was very patient as I finally got used to the feel of it. Okay, we are ready to go to the next level down and adjust from there, said Yabel as we left the building. Yabel said, now that I had a new etheric body, we would have to take a shuttle to the next body factory in the other areas of the mental worlds. Our first stop would be in one of the known heavens of man, and that I would have to deal with the ruling governor, as it always takes his approval for anyone to reincarnate into the lower levels. The governor God knows the comings and goings of all those who enter the psyche realms. We waited for the shuttle as it finally came, and we found a seat with hordes of other souls who were going into the lower worlds. I looked at all the new bodies, as they were rather silent as the shuttle moved along very swiftly. As I looked out over the vastness of the open sky we were in, the mental worlds began to appear in the distance. There were thousands of huge continents everywhere. We are going to the main kingdom of the Lord in this realm, said Yabel, as he pointed to the biggest continent of all. As we approached, I saw 3 gigantic mountains with light spewing from them. This place is an awesome spectacle. The ruler here, the Kalam God, always puts on a good show for those who arrive in his kingdom. He wants to make sure that nobody leaves or tells others there could possibly be more to life than where he is at. He has untold servants and slaves who will do anything for him, as he is seen as the all-knowing deity of this realm, and many layers below this one, said Yabel as he winked at me. For now, all of this was new to me with this new body I was in. I was given a summary of some of my past lives, the ones Yabel said would be useful to me. He told me that I didn't need to know all of them at this time, because it would just overload and confuse me, as he wanted me to stay focused on the task at hand to get me into a good state of affairs. We soon landed on the gigantic continent of the Kalam God. There were thousands of other shuttles that had just arrived like us, and all the people on board exited about the same time as we did. There were multitudes of the strangest body types I had ever seen. There was such a mass of creatures and people that it took us a while to get through them. These creatures come from all parts of the various realms and worlds within the psychic regions. Most of them are candidates for the Kalam God, as many of them look for gods to worship, as he loves those who believe and worship him as their superior deity. The karmic baggage of many of these creatures is so embedded, and it will take thousands of lifetimes to offset it. There are so many who are very strongly adamant about their God being who they decide he is. It is not at all about the reality of what takes place here, but the contrived ritualism that sparks the attachment most people have toward their specified divine ruler. The Kalam God is into the most gaudy display of satanic ritualism, as he is the inventor of it and all the oppositions to his cause. He keeps his followers in the dark by creating devilish opponents who seem to want to belittle and even eliminate him. But it is all a political ploy to make his blind followers even more attached to him, to where they will lay down their life for any of his causes. What he implements here soon filters down to the lowest of levels in the material realms, then becomes all sorts of laws and distorted policies for those in control of the humans on the rock planets. During this life, you will experience very little governing control, but in your future lifetimes you will need to know everything that is taking place. But we shall keep you straight with one life at a time, Sonny, said Yabel as he laughed a bit. Yabel walked over to an open transport. Then we got on and took a seat. I could not get over all the strange creatures that existed here. Yabel and I seemed to look normal in comparison, as I felt a little funny being around these others. Do not pay any attention to these creatures, as they are unconscious or even where they are at. This transport will take us to the next body factory, which is a long distance away from here, he said, as multitudes of people got on the skirt and scurried around to their seats. Then the transport took off. This world is so immense and filled with all sorts of beauty and wonder. As we whisked past the outer part of the city, we came into a huge countryside of luscious surroundings. There were some flying machines in the air, as some of them hovered close to the ground as though they were inspecting what was taking place with many of the inhabitants. Those flying patrols are to keep a mindful watch on everyone here. The patrols are administered by the Kalam God and his security force. All the lower realms have an observance and obedience network to keep the populations in control and doing what they should be doing for those who rule over them. The planet Earth you will be arriving at does not have any of such a mechanical nature as yet, but someday the technology will filter down to the Earth and there will be the same kind of spy networks used by the authorities to keep a surveillance on the public. The Lord God here wants all the psychic realm to be totally under his control. It takes a lot longer for the humans of the Earth to adapt to the technological applications from this realm, as these people here are so much more advanced in their education of the dualistic forces, said Yabel, as we watched groups of patrols honing in on the outskirt residents. Yabel said that the patrols would not bother us because he made sure they didn't really see where we were. We finally arrived at our stop, which was far from the main city. When we then walked for several long blocks until we came to a huge building, so huge in fact I could hardly see the end of it, as it ran for what seemed to be miles. Yabel led the way into the main door, where we then came to a receptionist. "Hello, can I help you?" said the man, rather polite and in a strange language that Yabel understood. "Yes, you may," said Yabel. "We are here to pick up a body for Suma Wuhan." "Let me check that for you, sir," said the fellow, as he typed on his keyboard, then waited for the response from his computer. Then, suddenly, an alarm went off in the building as the receptionist looked up at us, while several Cal guards came rushing over to his desk. The receptionist pointed to the computer screen. As the guards read the information, then looked at us and began to step forward with their weapons drawn. But then Yabel put up his right hand and said, "It's all right, boys. Everything is fine, isn't it?" he said, as they stopped and put their weapons back into their holsters. "Yes, sir. Everything is fine. Here is your pass, and the room you want is straight over there and down the hall to your left," said the guard, and pointed so very politely to our direction, as I heard the alarm stop. Yabel smiled and motioned for me to follow him. I was a bit surprised at what happened, and so he explained as we walked. There is always a watchful lookout for those coming from the universes of light into the psychic realms, and especially those who are accompanied by a real guide. Even though the technology of the Kalam God is very good, it is not perfect, as nothing is in this realm, but does appear to be. Your name was on the list of those to watch out for, but I took care of them for now, as they will have to deal with their superiors later when they finally find out about this mishap. You are supposed to go before the Kalam God first to get approval for a new body. But we are taking a shortcut, as this is all part of the adventure you will be learning with me, said Yabel, as we found the room and then walked in. This place was enormous. There were bodies stocked everywhere along all the huge walls, and even millions more hanging from the high ceiling. I looked at all the different species and creature types as Yabel gave the attendant the pass. Then he showed us where our body type was, which was in another huge room. I finally found the one that would suit me, and the attendant took it to another room to get it prepped. It would be a similar procedure as the other one I was now wearing, so we waited for the attendant to return. I am so amazed at all the creations they make here, sir, I said as I looked around like a kid in a candy store. This is only a small part of what they really have on this level. Those other buildings you saw beside this one as we came here, which run for hundreds of Earth miles, are filled with readily available bodies. Most of the Earth people consider their gods to have created their bodies, and in a way it is true, but it is actually each person according to their accumulated experiences, consciousness, and awareness that becomes a suitable alliance with the body type they are using. Bodies on this level are produced in a matter of moments, as opposed to the 9 months it takes in the physical world. The Kalam God puts a minute sensor into each body to keep in contact with it, which most humans never discover. In the future of the earth, the place you are going, there will be the same technology which will be embedded into the bodies of most, along with the food and drugs which the populations will be fed.